This is Book 2 of the Aeneid, the second part, starting in line 201. At the very beginning, when we started Book 2, we met Laocoon, the Trojan priest, and when the Trojans saw the Trojan horse on the shore where the Greek camp had been, Laocoon was really the only person who rushed down and said that it's a trick, that they shouldn't take the horse in, they shouldn't trust the horse. And he threw his spear at the Trojan horse, and the Greek horse, really, and I guess kind of wounded it. In this section, we're going to see that Laocoon is going to be punished for this. And in this section that we kind of skipped over, what happens is the Trojans meet a Greek man on the shore, and his name is Sinon, like Simon, but with two N's, S-I-N-O-N. And Sinon tells the Trojans sort of this made-up story about how he is now an enemy of the Greeks, sort of he betrayed them, and so they left him behind, and he's willing to help the Trojans out and tell them everything they want to know. He says that they have decided to leave and go home and stop fighting, that they have left this horse as a offering to Minerva, who in Greek is Athena, and we know is often called Pallas, P-A-L-L-A-S. And Sinon tells them, right, that it's a good sign, the horse is good. And in fact, what has happened is that the Greek navy, the Greek ships, have all left to this island called Tenedos, which is right over the horizon, and they're waiting for, the next day so that the horse can be taken into the city, the Greeks inside can hop out, and that the Greeks who are remaining can sail back to Troy and take the city with no trouble, no harm. So, in this section, we're going to see about Laocoon and how he's punished for sort of telling people not to trust the horse. So, we'll start in line 201. Laocoon ductus Neptuno sorte sacerdos. Ductus normally means led, right, from duco, ducere, but here it really is more like chosen. And it refers back to Laocoon. And sort of, we have a couple of positives here. So Laocoon, chosen, and then sacerdos is what he's chosen as. So it's kind of another positive. Chosen as a priest. And Neptuno is dative of reference, the book tells you. And in English, we would say sort of he's chosen as the priest of Neptune, but this is more like for Neptune. And sors, sortis, means lot. So he's been chosen by lot, which really means randomly. We get the word lottery from that. So like drawing names out of a hat, kind of. So Laocoon, chosen as priest. And this next line is just what he's doing before the scene starts. Solemnis taurum ingentem mactabat ad aras. And one of the things we're going to see in this section is that there's a lot of separation of words that go together. And we can kind of start seeing that here. Solemnis and aras go together. The is of solemnis is that alternate form of the accusative plural. It's really es. But here, in poetry a lot, we see is. So it's kind of like saying ad solemnis aras. Taurum and ingentem go together. They're both accusative. And macto mactare means to sacrifice. Right, to slaughter. So he was slaughtering a huge bull at the customary altar. You could also say solemn for solemnus. So obviously, like Taurus, the star sign comes from Taurum, the bull. Toro is bull in Spanish. Odd usually means to or toward, but it can also mean at as a preposition. So we have two things going on here. One, you can say it's a word picture. So the altar is standing like bookends at the end of each, at the end of the line. So it's like an enclosed line. And the bull can be found in the middle, just like in a real altar it would have been a large slab of stone, and the bull would have been found in the middle of the altar. So it's that word picture, and the way that word picture is made is through a chiasmus. So we have A, B, B, and we're going to skip over our verb and our preposition, and then we have another A. So it's a nice little arrangement of the words. Alright, things are going to get bad for Laocoon pretty fast. So he's just a priest and he's sacrificing a bull. Ecce, autem gemini a tenedo tranquilla per alta horresco referens immensis orbibus angues incumbunt pelago. Alright, we can stop there. So this sentence has a lot of things that are going on. If you wanted to take just the bare bones of the sentence, it would be angues incumbunt pelago. And then the rest is just sort of all these added on. We have some some prepositional phrases, some just like asides. Ecce is an exclamation. Behold, look. It's not a verb like the command look, but it's like going, whoa. And then autem is just sort of a transition word to get us from, oh, look, he's sacrificing at the altar. However, look. And one of the things we see here is that our words are moved around a lot. So Gemini goes with angues, and that's quite a stretch for that. So we can call this hyperbaton, that they're far away from each other. And it's also enjambment because one of the things is Gemini means twin. And what you're waiting for as you're reading from left to right as a Roman would, you're waiting for twin what? What's going to happen? What's going on? And it's at the end of the next line you actually find out angues are snakes. And so it creates this sense of anticipation. So look, however, twin something from Tenedos through the tranquil water, sea. You're just like, what is it? Horresco referens. Horresco is the first person verb because, remember, Aeneas is telling the story to Dido. So this is all like a flashback. And this is a little aside that Aeneas says. Horresco means like I bristle. Horresco is the feeling of like your hair standing on end. So I shudder. Referens is just a present participle. So I shudder while retelling the story. There's kind of an understood. So this is just a little aside. We get two ablatives here, immensis orbibus. And orbibus is the first. We're going to get a lot of words for coils because they're snakes and they're coiling around. So orbibus is the first one that we're going to see. With huge coils or folds. And then we finally get our snakes. So twin snakes with huge coils from Tenedos, and that's that island that the Greeks have fled to and they're hiding through tranquil seas that are not going to be tranquil for much longer because of the snakes. And then we finally get the verb of what they do. Incumbunt pelago. Incumbunt is in the book too. It's like they lower themselves over something. And because of that idea, it takes a dative, and pelago is that dative. They lower themselves over the sea. Sort of they're getting into the sea. And so we see two words for sea. We have pelago, and then at the beginning of the sentence we have alta, where alta can mean high, tall, or it can mean deep. So like through the tranquil deep. And so because of this snake imagery, that's how we're really getting a lot of change in our word order. It's kind of like snakes weaving themselves in and out of the water. The words are kind of weaving in and out of the sentences. Pariterque ad litora tendunt. So here's our que that just means and. Remember, par or pares means equally or equal, and then the iter is the ly, right? Equally. So equally means, at the same pace, side by side. Ad litora, to the shore. Tendunt is just they head towards the shore. Pectora quorum interfluctus arecta eubaeque sanguineae superant undas. So we have a sort of delayed relative pronoun here with quorum, of those, right? Whose. Pectora and erecta go together. Eubae, which is a mane or a crest, like the top of the snake. Sanguineae go together. And so we have things that are kind of going through the sentence. So whose pectora, whose chests, right? Whose chests, right? Erecta means raised up or reared. And so their chests are raised up, and whose crests are bloody. So whose raised up chests and bloody manes, like the top crest. Snakes don't really have manes. And then we can take our prepositional phrase interfluctus, among the waves. And then that among the waves, you could also say that goes with erecta. Their chests are raised up between the waves, you could say. And they superant undas, which is another word for waves. They overpower, or literally supero superare. Super means above. It's like to be over something, to be above. And then metaphorically, a lot of times when we see supero superare, it means to conquer someone. But here we can almost take it literally with like a locational or a physical sense, right? That their chests and their manes are on top of, or they crest the waves. And we're going to see superant again later in this passage. So we're just describing the snakes that are coming from the island and what they look like. They've got blood red sort of crests. Pars cetera pontum, which is another word for sea. We're getting back to all of our sea words that we saw when the Trojans were in their ships. Now the snakes are in the water. Pone legit. Usually when you see cetera, it means the rest, and it's an adjective. And here it describes pars, but it sounds silly to say like the rest part. So you say the remaining part, or the other part. So we've been talking about their chests and their crests. And here we're talking about, the rest of them, the remaining part, pontum, the sea, pone, which means behind or after, and then leg, it looks like the word reed, but it's the word to skim something, or to choose something. These are homonyms, read and choose. So the remaining part of the snakes is sort of understood. Skim the sea behind what we've already talked about. So like the tails. Sinuantque immensa volumine terga. So immensa and terga go together, and they're neuter plural. And are the accusative here, because they can't go with our verb because it's singular, so it can't be the subject, it must be accusative plural. And the volumine is an ablative. Oh, volumen, we get the word volume from it. It's actually the word for like a scroll. So it's a roll of, like paper or parchment. And so like volume 1 would be like scroll 1. So here it's a coil, kind of the idea of the rolled up piece of paper. And it's ablative. Sinuant's our verb, which means to fold or curve or twist. So we've got lots of like folding and twisting because they're snakes. So the subject is still the remaining part. It folds the immense back, so your tergum is your back. Sort of in a coil or with a coil. Sinuant, to fold or curve or twist, is related to the word sinus in Latin. A sinus is like a pocket of some kind. So it's the word for a bay, like a little fold in the earth where the water can come in as a port, a bay. A sinus is also a fold in the toga where you can like put stuff, kind of like a pocket in your toga. And then we have sinuses in our noses, in our heads. That's where it's kind of your skin and body parts are folded back, and it's kind of an air pocket in your head, like a bay in your head for air. So this is just a verb that's related to that. A sinus. And it's also a lap. In Latin, your sinus can be like you're folding your toga, or a bay, or your lap, because when you sit down, you kind of are folded over, which is cute. Okay, so the snakes are on their way. Fit sonitus spumante salo. Fit is fio fieri, which is really the passive of facio facere, to become. And here we're going to just say like arises, because sonitus just means a sound. So a sound happens, basically. A sound arises. And then we have an ablative absolute. And normally our ablative absolutes are with the noun having been verbed. But if you see in spumante, it has a present participle. So instead of saying it with a perfect passive idea, we're going to say with the noun verbing to get that present participle idea in. Sal is salt. And then we have salum, which is like salt water, like the sea. And spumo spumare means to foam. And spumante is what Italian champagne is called, because it like foams, because it's carbonated. So when you're old enough, you can go get some spumante, which is, because you can't call things champagne legally, I think, unless they're like grown in a certain region in France. So in Italy, it's called spumante. So with the salt water foaming or frothing, like a carbonated beverage, a sound arises. Jamque arwa tenebant. And now we've been having all these present tense verbs. Now we're going to get some past tense, and they're not just regular past tense, they're imperfect, which is this idea of like something that's continuing over a long period of time, and it makes it really dramatic for a story. It's like this thing was going on over and over again. So now they were reaching the fields. Our womb is a field. So this is the plural of arwa, of our womb. So they've gone through the water, they've reached the land. Ardentis que oculos suffecti sanguine et igni. Ardentis and oculos go together. It's that ardentes, really. Burning eyes. Suffecti describes the snakes. So they are sort of suffused, supplied with burning eyes, or eyes burning, and then we can take our ablatives and tell us, well, why are they burning? How are they burning? Sanguine et igni, with blood and fire, which is awesome. And we have some sort of like alliteration or assonance going on here with all of these S's. Ardentisque oculos suffecti sanguine igni, which is very sibilant, very, like a snake. Speaking of sibilants, we have Sibylla labebant languis vibrantibus ora. So Sibylla and ora go together. Sibylla just means hissing, like when you make a sibilant sound, it's a hissing sound. So Sibylla ora are hissing mouths. Labebant is our verb. They were licking, so they're licking their hissing mouths, and then we have ablatives to tell us with what. Linguis vibrantibus, with sort of like vibrating, quivering tongues. Here we have the alliterations more like L words, Sibylla labebant linguis, which is kind of like a licking la 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 sound. De fugimus visu ex sanguines, illi agmine certo leaucuonta petunt. So now remember, Aeneas is talking, so we have a first person plural, and we're going back to the present tense, which is like that historical present. It's for vividness. And de fugimus is fugio de, like to flee away. So we all flee. We flee. We run away. We scatter. And then visus ablative and ex sanguines describes the subject of de fugimus. We sort of pale from the sight, or ex sanguinis is to be like without blood, right? Lifeless. We flee, and why are you lifeless? We have an ablative of cause. Pale from the sight. Ili refers back to the snakes. Those guys, the snakes, they. Agmine certo is ablative. Leaucuonta is a Greek accusative because his name is Greek, so when you change it, it has to be Greek accusative. Petunt is our verb. So they seek out. Petunt can also be attack. So it's to look for, seek, or attack. They attack leaucuon. And then agmine certo is the way that they're moving. An augmen is a column, usually a column of soldiers, like a line of soldiers. Here the line is the two snakes, so they're kind of in formation. So with, or in a certain line. So they're attacking like, kind of like soldiers would. Okay, I'm going to stop there so the video doesn't get too long. And we'll keep going. All right.